Uh, like most of you, I wasn't really able to do a home visit. I had to kind of make do. I did a phone interview, and luckily enough, the child who I was working with on this section, I've known his mother for quite a while, and she was willing to help me out by doing a running observation at their home. I'm calling the child Johnny. He has both a mother and father living with him, an older brother and sister who are in high school, and he has a twin brother. He's 52 months old. He's white. He comes from a family in a slightly higher socioeconomical class than most people living in the area, and he has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. I felt like working with his mom would help me get a better understanding of his home life. And I might be able to hopefully give his parents some much needed reassurance that he's doing exceptionally well in school. They've shared with me during his latest IEP meeting how concerned they are about his future in public school and concerns over, I can't remember exactly how they worded it, but his natural limitations, so to speak. I don't know the term, can't remember what they called it. But his father did mention, being concerned about how far he could really go. It was my hopes that working together on this project, I could help them see just how far he's advanced in just a few short months. It's difficult for me to see Johnny as being severely delayed and disabled, but in all honesty, I look at him as being pretty close to neurotypical with just a few little extra quirks. I don't mean to make light of their concern at all. I've only known him a few months. I wasn't there for the time when they believed he'd be nonverbal his entire life and had to try to come to terms with that. The truth is that from my perspective, I can easily see Johnny being mainstreamed into a typical kindergarten classroom with a bit of additional adult support and accommodations. But the parents, they're kind of stuck in the mindset of always comparing him with his twin, who's slightly more advanced. It's my goal this year that through positive and honest communication to hopefully alleviate some of their fears about their son's future by helping shine a light on his strengths and his achievements. So I use this assignment to get a better understanding of the family unit and for them to get a better understanding of how he's doing in school. So for the analysis, observation, and description of language and communication skills and behaviors for Section 1, Osep Child Outcome 1, Positive Social Emotional Skills. One of the central themes that kept coming up during my interview with Johnny's mother was her belief that based on her observations and reports from previous teachers that Johnny engages mainly in solitary play. This hasn't been my experience with Johnny at all. Maybe a little bit early on, but I think it's fair to say that at school he prefers playing with adults, but he still routinely engages in cooperative play with his friends. We worked with him on learning how to initiate play with a peer as well as how to enter their play very early on. He now routinely plays with his friends multiple times throughout the day. He does still require some adult support. With adult support, he can get a game of tag going, for example, but without that support, odds are more likely he'll just take a toy from a friend and yell, "Chase me, chase me." He's still a ways away from successful peer play without any adult support, but at the moment, that support is mainly needed just to help him initiate play. Once he's successfully initiated or entered the play, the level of adult support required is very minimum. So, Johnny's mom's actual observation was interesting, but it didn't necessarily reveal a lot. She said he basically sat alone for like 30 to 45 minutes silently playing with toys, dinosaurs and trucks, and then eventually dinosaurs, trucks, and blocks. The only communication he used was to ask her for a package of gummies. I just find that really interesting because at school, I mean, he's a talkative guy. And when he's playing, he's talkative. He's narrating his play. So I just find that interesting. My observation of Johnny at school are in agreement with his mom regarding his ability to label his emotions and respond to the emotions of others. The only thing I think that differs is he sees a friend at school that is sad or crying, he'll attempt to get an adult to assist. Where apparently at home, if he sees his twin brother crying or sad, he just ignores him. That was a running theme with the observation and the parent report on the phone. That they're just kind of oblivious to each other, the twins. She also mentioned that if his brother cries, Johnny will put his hands over his ears and yell, "Shut up," which is something we've kind of seen at school. Not when friends are crying, not when they're sad, but if they're singing too loud, he will put his hands over his ears and say that. But I think the most interesting thing I learned about this was Jen's belief that he has a very rigid schedule that he has to stick to, which may or may not. I mean, it's not really the case at school. At bedtime, for example, she has to tell him every night if the next day is a school day or if it's a home day to help kind of set things on the right trail, the right path, she said. When he got to school, he learned our routine very quickly, and he possesses a lot of flexible thinking regarding schedules, so I thought that was interesting. So for OSEP Section 2, the Child Outcome 2, acquisition and use of knowledge and skills. Johnny's mom did share that he's reciting the stories at home that he hears at school, and he'll often read to her or tell her the stories. He calls it reading when he doesn't have the book, but at school he reads the book to his friends at lunch. He's doing that routine at home. She also described tantrum behaviors at home that we've just never seen at school. That's most likely due, though, to the low number of children in our classroom and the proximity to myself and my ed tech. He just doesn't have many options to get that frustrated, as one of us is usually there to help him when he asks for it. And we can kind of sometimes cut him off if we know he's starting to get a little bit riled up, so we can avoid the behaviors like the ones she described on the phone. I do wonder, though, if the strategies we've taught him of saying "help please" are something that he's localized to school and it doesn't occur to him that he can use them at home. So I do need to talk with Jen about that. She'd also mentioned that she doesn't believe he necessarily possesses the flexible thinking required for trial and error type of play. But off the top of my head, I also can't recall any examples of that type of play or exploration at school either. Generally, if something doesn't work for him the first time, he uses the help please strategy, which got me thinking that it might actually be more beneficial for him if we weren't quite as helpful and worked with him on trying to solve more problems for himself. It was interesting to learn that his purposeful play is very similar at home to how it is at school, which I mean, whatever he's playing with, whether it's Legos, dinosaurs, or blocks, usually dinosaurs, the play always gets involved in the block areas. Everything always ends up being incorporated into the block play. For Section 3, OSEP Child Outcome 3, use of appropriate behaviors to meet needs. Everything that Jen reported to me on the phone during our interview lined up with everything I see at school. Johnny is capable of moving around the classroom, manipulating things that he needs. At home, he apparently still drinks with a sippy cup because of the number of spills, but he does use an open mouth cup here at school. I understand. I've got lots of stains on my rugs from little kids and cups, so I can't really falter for that. Dressing and undressing, he has no issues with it. He actually prefers button shirts. He likes to say, I'm buttoning my little buttons. He can initiate toileting, no problem. He does the entire process by himself independently. He always remembers to wash his hands. At home and at school, though, he does get stuck on that step, like a lot of children. He gets really fixated on the running water, watching it go down the drain, making bubbles. So 90% of the time he'll need, at home and at school, he needs an adult to kind of help him sort of disengage from that and finish the process. Communication needs, as far as that goes, it's amazing how far he's come in speech. He went from, at one point they believed he would be nonverbal, so now he is communicating with amazing intelligibility. You wouldn't even know this kid receives speech therapy. He'll get some pronouns shifted, like he and she, his and hers, but that's about it, honestly, at this point. The speech therapist has mentioned to me that he's genuinely excited and he's working hard during speech and focusing. Safety awareness is huge. It's huge. It's non-existent at home and at school. He is a child who will take off, partly because it's a game to him, partly because he's just distracted. We have a little chime thing on our door to let us know, just in case. He's never tried to bolt from the classroom, but just in case. He is severely developmentally delayed when it comes to safety awareness. That's probably his biggest delay. Something I thought was kind of neat was that Jen had noticed that since his language has increased so dramatically, the number of challenging behaviors at home has also decreased. As his language has increased, his behaviors have decreased.